I'm going to be a good mother. And I was confident in that. And I believe in the beginning, like, I tried the best I could. I knew I never wanted to be like her.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to be like my father, but I didn't know how to be a good mother. I didn't know how to be a good caretaker because, you know, like I said, my grandmother tried her best, but at that point in time, I kind of wasn't really listening. I wasn't really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I was more so still stuck on poor me, and, you know, I had such a horrible life, and, you know, so I wasn't being like really grateful for what my grandmother had done, taking us out of that you know, that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So I'm here with 3 children, and I'm drinking, I'm using, and, you know, my relationship at that point, you know, I used this to my advantage too. He was cheating on me. He started abusing me, and here I am, poor me.
Mm-hmm.
I have these 3 kids. I'm taking care of them by myself. I'm living with his mom and his father, and I'm trying to take care of them in the household. And he's cheating on me, and he's putting his hands on me, and poor me, poor me, poor me. I'm not doing anything to take myself out of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at that point I felt stuck. And again, I'm using all of this to my advantage. I'm playing the complete victim role. And in a way, I was a victim. You know, nobody,
Yeah.
you know, decides they want to be in a relationship where it's abusive. You know, it just doesn't happen overnight. Like, one day you're like kissing and hugging and loving each other, and the second day, like, he's, you know, punching you in the eye. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know, it starts off, you know, you're not allowed to hang out with your friends. Why are you hanging out with your family?
Mm-hmm.
Taking your phone away, pushing you, then, oh, I'm so sorry, or, you know, then choking you. You know, it's a gradual thing.
Sure.
You know, and then by the time that it's all out a brawl and you guys are fist fighting and doing all this other stuff, like, you know, you're in a really, really tough situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought to leave him because, you know, in some sick situation, like, even though, like, his mother and his father wasn't like the best, they were always so close.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a way, like, I always wanted a family.
Yeah.
I wanted that close knit family.
Right.
And I wanted that so bad. And that was them. And
Well,
they were my family.
Yeah.
They were, and, you know, they weren't a healthy relationship by any means, but they were my family. And I never wanted my kids to grow up in a split home. I wanted the mother and the father together, but it just, you know, things happen, and our drug addiction and alcoholism just kind of skyrocketed. And then we had gotten into a really bad fight one night. I ended up stabbing him, and the kids were taken away, and my life kind of like flipped upside down. I was so beside myself, like, oh my God, my kids are taken away. Like, I cannot believe this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, here I am. I promised myself I was never going to be like my mom, but here it is, checking that box off, getting my kids taken away. And still, again, I stabbed him because it's his fault. I could not take responsibility for my actions. I literally was like, well, if he didn't cheat on me, then he wouldn't have been stabbed. That was my thinking process at that time. That's how sick I was. And it's not my fault the kids were taken away. It was his fault, because this would have never happened if he wouldn't have done what he did. And, you know, like, I would go to visit them, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in time, it was about 2008. I was 19 years old. And just life is spiraling out of control. I tried to do the case plan to the best of my ability, but that didn't work because I refused to stop using. Like, using wasn't my problem. I would do anger management classes. I did parenting classes, but I would not drop for them. And then I would go visit them, but I wasn't doing the case plan to the best of my ability. And because of that, because they knew. I mean, CSBs, they're not dumb. They
Mm-hmm.
deal with this all the time. And if you don't do your case plan to the best of your ability, you're failing. They
Yeah.
want to see you do whatever it takes to to get your kids back, and I was not living up to that whatsoever. And so the kids ended up getting adopted, and I kind of like used that to just like run rampant, do whatever I wanted to. I was using as much as I could. I had graduated from Percocets to morphine to Xanax to fentanyl to Oxycontin, drinking whenever I could, using as much as I can. I'm not just like taking the pills. Now I'm crushing them down. Now I'm snorting them. Now, I'm blacking out. I'm fighting still. I'm going to jail for disorderly conducts, and just I'm out of control.
Wow.
And here I am, end up pregnant again. And I'm devastated. I don't want to be pregnant. I don't want to have another child. My other kids are already taken away. And I just kind of like lose it. And, like the one thing that I had going for me, I felt like throughout each pregnancy, I would stop using. I wouldn't be using while I was pregnant, but almost the day after, I was drinking, I was partying. I deserve to drink. I've been pregnant for so long. I deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
But with this pregnancy, I was so depressed. And this is no excuse. It's just the progression of my disease at this point, because I was full blown addict. I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I would try to tell myself like, well, the doctor prescribed me the pain pills because I told him my back hurt, which it wasn't. I was like telling myself lies and actually believing these lies. And the doctor says one every 3 to 4 hours. Well, I was taking handfuls of them, and
Gosh.
I was going.
It's just a wonder that
So
you just weren't like hospital. I mean, that's just incredible that your organs and body were able to withstand that.
You're telling me, and it ended up coming to a head like that because I was just doing so much of them. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't drinking water. I wasn't eating. And towards the end, I kind of was like, dang, like, what's going on with me? Like, I have a problem. But I was so miserable. Like, I just didn't want to even be alive. Like, I would wake up crying because I was still alive. Like, why? Why can't I just, like, take enough to go to sleep and never have to wake up? And that was like my goal. And as sick as that sounded, I wasn't thinking about the child. I wasn't thinking about the baby that was inside of me. I was thinking about just ending it all because I was so miserable. And I almost did it. And I get choked up every time I talk about it because I shouldn't be here today. I ended up on life support for 3 days.
Yeah.
When I woke up, my stomach was flat, and I'm like, where's my kid? I thought I had killed her. By the grace of God, and only by the grace of God, she is perfect. She's fine. She's so smart. She's so talented. She's so sweet and kind-hearted. But that I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't do that at all.
Well,
and when I woke up, I was.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead. When you woke up,
I just knew then, like, I needed help. I needed help because I that was the scariest moment that I had ever put myself in. And not even myself, my daughter.
Right.
I put somebody else's life in danger. I had no regard for anybody or anything except for using one more time. That's how terrible my life had gotten. That's how deep my addiction brought me.
It's incredible. It's an incredible story. It really is.
Yeah.
You definitely, we talked a little bit about this in faith and, the work of God, and that there are people, I'm just grateful that, I know that there is that superior power. And I told you, well, our story, everybody has a threshold, but I'm glad it's not just, I'm not alone. And if it hadn't been for my faith or the things that that I was taken through, I don't know where I would be. I mean, it just is incredible.
Yeah, that's a good thing about God. Like, he's so good. He's so good. He's so merciful. Like, I, throughout my journey in recovery and, like trying to figure out like what my purpose was or why I was even still alive. Like, I did so many terrible things in my life. Like, how could anybody, like, why me? Why am I still alive when other people are not? And like, that's, I don't know if I'll ever have that answer, but I know that God loves me so much, and if he can change my life and he can forgive me for what I've done, he can forgive anybody. He can change anybody's life. And that's what I hold on to so strongly, because he is so good. He didn't wait for me to be perfect. He didn't wait for me to be good. He met me exactly where I was at, in the deepest, lowest, darkest point in my life. He met me there, and he was like, come on, let's do this. And I needed that.
And and by the way, I believe your grandma said, she sent a message, because you can actually chat during the show, and she said Grammy is so proud. I wanted to let you know that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that she did reach out, and she did say that. And I know that learning that you are not, you can't see me, but I'm doing the air quote victim, but that was a life that it became a really bad normal for you, and you almost like you didn't know any other way. And for you to be, because people call it rock bottom, when we're in those situations and we think, it just can't, you don't ask for it, but you're like, it can't get any worse. That's when you do start scrambling for, I need help. You couldn't hear it. It's almost like you couldn't hear it from a human being in your life. It's almost like it has to go beyond the people that we put in our heads. Well, they think they know better or whatever. It is those situations that brings us closest to God.
I was, like I said, I played the victim role so much, and I would always compare myself to everybody. Like, I would be around people, and I don't want to kind of point them out, like if they listen, but, people would be, hallucinating and fighting, trees. And I'm like, well, I'm not that bad. And, they would be drinking and driving and rolling a car. And I'm like, well, I'm not that bad. I didn't do that. So I compared myself out. And again, I couldn't take responsibility. I could not see where what I was doing was affecting other people. I was just doing it to myself. And like I said, even when I was pregnant, I was believing these lies that I was telling myself, because I was so delusional and out of it all the time, and so that kept me sick for a really long time.
Well, and we talked